Welcome to the Daily Dish with New York Times bestselling author Leanne Ely. Putting vibrancy back into your everyday life and feeding your heart, mind, body, and soul. Join us every day at 1 p.m. Eastern for Motivational Monday, Tuesday's Tip, Wise Woman's Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Food Fight Friday, and of course Q&A, where no question is off limits, and Soulful Saturday. Here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
It's Soulful Saturday, and you're here. That makes me so happy. It's great to see June back. I love to see Autumn and Doris, Lily, Marguerite, Nancy, all in the house. Amber's here as well. So's Jenny. And I think our Lindsay's here as well. Hi, Darla. Good to see you. Kathy's in the house. I'm drinking my hot milk mix. What do you have in your container here? In my beautiful, I don't know if Marla still has these on Fly Lady, but if they do, you need to go get one. This is the best water bottle I've ever had. Love it. Who else is here? Got Lisa, got Joanne, got Julie. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be wrapping it all up today because we've been talking all week about getting unstuck. I mean, so much information on this. I actually have a file folder named Getting Unstuck. And that's where I pulled a lot of this good stuff from that we've been enjoying all week. Jackie's here. Yes, you like my water bottle too, Nancy. I'm so glad. Hi, Mary. I'm glad you're here. Sharon's here. She's got her hot milk mix going. Patsy's in the house. Anyway, glad you're all here. You know that the hydration has been going all this week. How are you doing with hydration? Is it becoming more of a habit? I sure hope so. Right, Carla? Carla knows all about this. She's got the habit of hydration going. And next week, we're going to start on the collagen challenge. Are you ready for that one? Have you done it before? We go from challenge to challenge to challenge, and then we go to our key program, which is our hot melt sprint once a month. But we go from challenge to challenge to challenge to hot melt sprint, challenge to challenge. You know why? We want to stay on the rails. You know, how many of you felt like you've fallen and you can't get up? I mean, do we want that? I don't think so. I do not think so. I know what it feels like. Corliss, I bet you know what it feels like. Betsy's in the house too. Yeah, it becomes a habit. That's exactly right, Joanne. It becomes a habit that the sprint principles, the hot melt sprint principles that we all hold so dear, become just part of what we do. And then we focus on different things throughout these different challenges, but the principles are the same. It's not like we're, jumping this diet, that diet, this diet, because we've stepped out off the carousel of crazy and we have stepped into rather a lifestyle of understanding what works for us and what doesn't. I love what Patsy just said. She said, love the challenges, keeps me hopping. And that's the whole idea. Why bother if you're just going to go back to the same thing? I read a Bible verse that has always whopped me inside the head, like a dog returns to the vomit, his vomit, so a fool does to his folly. I always thought folly was such a weird word, but it is such a true word. Following his foolishness, his stupidity, doing things that are not going to get you the results you want. So that's why we've been talking about this, being unstuck all week and why we basically go from one to the other, afraid to stay stagnant. I mean, that's a good thing. Who wants to stagnate? Who wants to just, who wants this to happen? No one. So what I want to do here is wrap this whole thing up, because I think when we understand that if we want to go from stuck to being unstuck, there are certain things that need to fall into place. Hi, Autumn. I'm glad you're here. And you know what they are. We're going to get into it right now. Hi, Tanya. I'm glad you're here. CoQ10, this has been our supplement of the week. I want you to hear me. This on Monday, if you try to order this on Monday and try to get the deal, it'll be gone. Okay, so now is the day to do it. Now is the day to do it. If you buy 3 CoQ10s, you will get the 4th one free. Now, I consider this a core supplement, and the reason why is it's an enzyme that we just don't make as much as we used to when we're younger. Isn't that just kind of a bummer? But I'm telling you, this is the thing that we need to get on top of. Buy 3, get 1 free. CoQ10 is going to help you with your heart, your blood pressure. It even helps with weight loss, helps with headaches. It helps with blood sugar levels. And if you're a diabetic, it's good for you. If you have a blood thinner, do talk to your doctor about taking it first, okay? That's the only precaution that I can tell you about this. But this is even shown to help with macular degeneration of all things, you know? Interesting. I love this supplement. I take it every day myself. Check it out at savingdinner.com/show. That's where we hide them, okay? That's where we hide the supplements. Our tools, like our mindful mug, like our fabulous new quote decks. I love these quote decks, by the way. They're so pretty because they have the full bloom, the brand new full bloom logo on it. And this is mine. This is the one that I have sitting here. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. You see this cute little easel? That comes with your quote deck. Love this, love this, love this. We need this. This is what really impacts our environment. And also our journals. They help do all the things. Check it out. savingdinner.com/tools. And we also have full bloom coming in. Can you imagine how quickly this is? I can't even fathom how soon this is going to be here. You know, this is my timeline right now in my head. We're in the middle of August, right? It's August, 14th today? We're in the middle of August. My daughter comes the beginning of September, and you're going to be here in the middle of September too for our full bloom. Check it all out at savingdinner.com/bloom. This is an event. It is an event, and it's going to be a good one because it's going to get us from here to there. That's always the idea with these events. So I'm excited about it. I want you there. Our subscriptions, we're going to start having subscriptions for our kids. That's a great idea, by the way. So be watching for all of that. We have subscriptions for all of our supplements. It's a way to save money and to get them coming on a regular basis without going, have you ever just taken picked up a bottle of your supplements and go, I'm almost out. How fast can they get them here? Well, this is how you keep it going. Terry said she loves the larger font on our quote decks. So do I, Terry. I think that super helpful. I mean, let's consider who our audience is, man. We need bigger fonts. Hi, Angie. Joanne, I'm so excited for Full Bloom too. I'm so glad that you're going. Joanne said she also said she finally closed yesterday on her Florida house. Yay! I'm so excited about that. Hi, Lisa. That happened with your fiber mender? What happened with your fiber mender? Oh, that you almost ran out. You don't want to run out of fiber mender. I ran out of fiber mender. You want to hear lazy? I ran out of fiber mender last week, and I was just like, I kept going, it's down. I just got to go get it. And I was in the middle of making my smoothie, and I didn't. And I'm going to tell you too much information right here, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I did not poop like a queen all week. Just telling you. It's everything, y'all. It's everything. Gelled chia seeds, fiber mender, boom. That's just everything. And adequate hydration. Trust me on that. This is what you want. Okay. Sorry. Had to tell you. Had to tell you all of that. Betsy's in the house. Lastly, the last thing that I have to tell you about is our new quote of the week. Look. Steady as a clock, busy as a bee, and cheerful as a cricket. This is Martha Washington. Do you know why I like this? Because it sounds it does sound very old-fashioned, doesn't it? But think about it. Steady as a clock. Clocks are reliable. You can count on them. Busy as a bee. Staying busy, not being idle, not just sitting around going, whatever, doing something. Action, implementation. And cheerful as a cricket, making a decision that you're not going to say, oh, woe is me, I have to do all of this. This is a powerful little statement right here in this little quote from Martha Washington. Thanks, Martha. All right, what do you think? Should we sew things up? That's what I say. Let's sew it up. Let's end our series on getting unstuck or getting unstuck. Yeah, we want to get unstuck. Duh. Okay, this is important because when we get unstuck, we have the ability to jump into the life exactly what we want to have. Exactly what we want to have. Isn't that important to you? I'll tell you what, massively important to me. I want to be unstuck every single time. Every single time. So first of all, we have to take a look at what being stuck creates in our lives. Because oftentimes we don't even recognize that we're stuck. And the part that makes us stuck, you know what it is? It's just all the things that are going on. And it's just this feeling of like frustration, this feeling is like everything is hard, this overwhelm, this feeling of just moving your feet feel like cement. You ever felt like that? You ever felt like that? I feel like sometimes it's just like that. And I recognize what this is. It's a symptom of being stuck. That's exactly what it is. Cheryl is saying, do you and Fly Lady not hang out anymore? Actually, no, we haven't. She is in isolation. She's still, what's the word? Socially distancing. So yeah, we're still in touch. We still love each other. So this is exactly what being stuck is all about. It has symptoms. It's not just like you wake up one day and you go, so what's going on? Well, I'm stuck. No, you're frustrated. You feel like your feet feel like cement. You're not sure what's wrong. You're feeling a little overwhelmed over here. And everything's just not right. It's not right. You're not dialed in. You're not doing things. You're not feeling the thing anymore. That's stuck. And you know what else stuck is? It's misery. Misery. Like you're just drowning in your own garbage, your own emotional emoting, your own fill in the blank. And I've talked about this a lot, is that when we make these declarations of being, I am so overwhelmed, then your reticular activating system is going to go out there and find overwhelmed for you and pile it on. We bring in the things that we discuss, especially when we are saying I am statements, because that is an intentional affirmation and it's a declaration of what's going on. And your body, your brain is absolutely responsible for finding the information that you say is true, because we don't want to be caught in this whole place of things being out of whack. Does that make sense to you? I just want you to connect with this because it's such an important principle. This is the principle that changed my stuckness. This whole principle. I am statements are powerful. So choose your words carefully. I understand what it feels like to feel overwhelmed, but starting saying I am overwhelmed on a continual basis will get you overwhelmed on a continual basis. We attract in the things that we say. So when we say I am so miserable, there's another one. That's what it is. And do you know what the dictionary says about what misery is? It's the state of being wretchedly unhappy, uncomfortable. How about this? Pitiably small or inadequate. Isn't that awful? This is misery. Misery. And, misery loves company. We've heard that before. And we oftentimes collect company for our misery, because we want to stay there and, pity ourselves and feel sorry for ourselves and have a lot of people come alongside and say, yeah, you're right to feel like that. And then they are confirming the reason for your misery. And it really doesn't do a whole lot to get you out of it. It just confirms it and it keeps you there. And that's stuck. Misery is a stinky, awful place to be. And it's something you don't want. The thing that you have to look at this, though, is we can get out of this state of misery, and there are actual action steps that we can take to get out of this state of misery, because misery is something that gets developed along the way. It gets developed from inaction. It gets developed from believing the things that you're saying about yourself, and it gets developed simply by making a decision not to do anything risky and to stay behind and to think of all the yeah buts and the reasons why you can't do something. Remember, we've talked about this before too, that where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? What you think about expands, what you dwell upon becomes your destiny. All of these things, they're not just sweet little platitudes that we can stop, Band-Aid on top of things. Instead, what we need to look at is what's going on here. What is really going on here? And is this true? Is this true? Is it true that when I am focused on the wrong things that I'm getting that stuff back in spades? Is it true? Is it true that when I focus on the things that I don't want and I dwell upon the things that I don't want, that I get what I don't want? Is that true? These are questions that we can ask ourselves so that we can start to, instead of just thinking in terms of, that's a cute quote, Leanne. Next, let's go to the next thing. No. I've heard this before, I've seen this before, I've gotten them before in Facebook messages. I am just hopeless. Oh my gosh, no, you're not. What a miserable statement to say, and a misery-inducing thing to declare about your life. Remember, we talked about that? Declare, what was it that I said? Declare, decree, something. I don't remember. It was the other day. But all of this is moving the needle in our lives, or it's moving, there it is, decide, declare, and decree. There you go. That's what it is. When you make this decision, that you make a decision about your life, you decide what it is that you want. A decision is a choice, and a choice is a decision. And then when you declare it, I am an athlete, for example, is the one that I use often because this is my big 2021 goal. And then you decree it as it is such, and therefore it is so. There's a big time difference in that than I can't do anything. I am hopeless. I am a horrible athlete, blah, blah, blah. And there's a whole different, and we've talked about all of this. Just think about how all this connects with all the shows that we've done, right? It also connects with high vibe and low vibe. The higher vibe is that decision. The higher vibe is that declaration. The higher vibe is that decree of making this decision of who you are. That's your higher vibe. And doesn't it feel better? Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it make you say, this is the life that I want to live, that life? Because oftentimes what we do is that we divert our attention and we say, well, but I don't look like an athlete. I don't look like an athlete. I look like a pretty decent 63-year-old, but I don't look like an athlete. I don't look like somebody that just jumped off the Olympic stage. No. But I'm all right with that because that isn't my identity. My identity isn't in me doing this. Does that make sense to you? And that takes me out of the place of making a decision for misery's sake. It puts me into the place of making a decision for an ultimate goal. And I recognize and I realize, so do you, that to go from here to there, it's going to require building a bridge, and it's going to take a minute. That's okay, because the days are going to pass anyway, right? We know that. We know that. So how do we do this then? How do we get and remove ourselves from this place of misery? Because misery is the ultimate place of being stuck, because we're wallowing at that point. How do we get out of that and stop that crazy train? Get off that carousel of crazy. Well, number one is you've got to manage your commitments. Because I'll tell you what right now, that being miserable and being overwhelmed go hand in hand. And when we are doing and overdoing and doing one thing after the other, guess what's going to happen? We're giving away all of our energy to everyone else. And they'll say, oh, go ask Leanne. She'll volunteer. I was like that. I was my child's room mother for both my kids when they were both in kindergarten and preschool. I was room mothers for both of them. This is before we started homeschooling and all of that. But this was my whole, and I was at church. I was in charge of the children's program and the little kids and the nursery and all of this. And we redid the whole thing and had a baby shower for it. And it was just constant. I was always in the car. I was always doing. And I remember that feeling of over volunteering and feeling absolute misery and resentment because I never got a moment for myself. I never had a time to do anything. And I was snapping at everybody. Take a look at that. Because when you don't manage your commitments well and you just give your time away like it's just nothing, then what you're saying is that my time is not valuable. You hear that? Your time isn't valuable. I need to think about that is something that you need to say. Or, you know what? Let me take that into prayerful consideration is something that you need to say. Because if you're the one whose arm is always shooting up for as far as all of the volunteerism, it might be an ism that you need to step back from because that leads to misery. It leads to misery and being stuck and not accomplishing what it is that you want with your life. Because our lives don't revolve around misery, right? You're not here on purpose, by purpose, on purpose, and for purpose by God himself so that you can be a miserable human being. That's not his objective for you. Nor is it that you volunteer your pants off until you feel like everybody's got a piece of you and you don't even have one little bit left. Amen? You know exactly what that's about. So we got to do this. And number 2 is we got to be honest and hold ourselves to this honesty, because without honesty, without seeing what's truly going on and understanding how it is that we play into whatever it is, then we have blinders on and we're constantly playing to this play. We're playing to somebody else's song. We're dancing to somebody else's music, and we are people pleasing all the time. Honesty is getting into the weeds and saying, okay, so where is my time going? What's happening here? And why am I giving it all up for somebody else or for something else or for some cause or whatever? We got to do that, because when we don't do that, we find ourselves again miserable. It's miserable to be lying to yourself about what is true for you. It's miserable to not have a voice in your own life. It's miserable to shut it down and shut it down and shut it down. That's what being dishonest is about. It's not that you're like this horrible, dishonest person, but who do we lie to the most is ourselves. And we do that because we don't want to look, And I get that. But, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And that's the truth. And that's what this is all about, is being brave and being honest and being truthful with yourself. Number 3, you got to value your values by following through. What we're talking about here, all of this, is this dysfunction in the junction, shall we say. Because our values are the things that we say that we value, but if they're not connected with what it is that we're doing in our lives, what's up with that? What's up with that? How would you feel if you came over to my house and opened up my pantry and just saw a bunch of garbage, a bunch of junk food? That I'm telling you one thing and doing another. You got to follow through with your values. If you hold this true, if this is a value for you, then you better darn well live it. We know in the Bible, we know what the Pharisees did. We know what all of this, you can't do and say without doing. Who you are is going to show up in what you do more than what you say. That's why I always say we are living, breathing examples for our kids. And you know what? I look back on my life. There are times where I have a few regrets about a few things. I think about some of those times, and I think about some of the habits maybe my children have developed because they just watched me. They're constantly watching you. Your example is what they're going to do later. So don't get upset when they do something you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's part of it. So when we live our values, instead of just chucking them to the side, instead of being out of kilter, instead of not having that alignment assignment in place, when we're not living our values, we're destroying our souls. We really are. That's miserable. The other thing that I would really strongly suggest that you do, and this is number 4, is that when you are getting ready to start a project, a lot of times we get miserable in this project and it seems like it extends forever and ever. But if we have a start and a stop date on this particular project, it's going to be easier. It's just that simple. And we're not going to get miserable doing this project. We're not going to resent the project. It's going to be, this is this, and this is how it goes. It's why our 7 days with the sprint is so simple and so easy, and it's not a big deal, right? There's a start date, there's an end date. So start and stop. Think about it that way. I can do this for 5 days. I can do anything for 15 minutes, right? You've heard that one before. That's just how it is. That's how it is. Number 5, to get out of misery is also to recognize that it's there, and to also recognize that you can give it all you've got to get away from it simply by taking action. That's it. It's that simple. If you're miserable, stuck on the couch, get up off the couch. And if you're wondering what I'm going to do next, just start with doing the dishes, or making your bed, or taking a walk outside, or reading a book, picking up a book you haven't read in a while. But don't turn on the TV. Don't go to your phone. Don't get into the Netflix. Do something different. Betsy said that's why your journal works. It does. Isn't it just such a breath of fresh air, Betsy? The journal gives us basically action steps almost every day. Well, every day, because we're writing out our goals. And that becomes the blueprint that we're following to construct that bridge that we need to go across to get to our goals. It's amazing. But my point is, with all of this is, if you have a start date and you start, it's gonna make a difference. And if you give it all that you've got, you're gonna find yourself in such a new place, you're not even going to recognize what it was. And not just for one day, not just for an hour, but every day. Just say, you know what, I'm going to give it all that I've got. I've got this planned out. I'm going to do this. Start doing the opposite of what you've been doing. If you are miserable and stuck, start doing some things that are the opposite of, if you're sitting, get up. If you're watching TV, turn it off. If you're in your phone, put it away. And do something else, because something is better than that, because that's stuck. Number 6, when you respect your time, it respects you. Isn't that true? And you respect yourself and others. Being on time is an important thing. One of the things, the most miserable thing, is sitting there waiting for someone and waiting and waiting and waiting. We try really hard to be right on time. Here, we might be a minute or 2 late. We never start earlier, but being on time is important to me. Being on time is important to me. It's important. It's saying that I honor your time. And when you show up, and you know what, when people say, hey, sorry, I'm late, you showed up is all that matters to me, for this kind of a thing. But when we're doing something in real life, and we're out there and we're waiting for somebody to show up and meet them, and they're not there, how do you feel when you're waiting 5, 10, 15 minutes? How does that make you feel? It's miserable. It's a miserable thing, because there is something attached to it. It's saying your time is not valuable, and I'm gonna get there when I want to, and that just makes you feel bad. So don't be that person. Instead, step up and say something. If somebody's disvaluing, disrespecting your time, say something. And the other thing is, when people see you as reliable, people view you as such. How important is that? That makes you feel valued, because you're reliable, because you showed up on time. These are little things that fit into the misery equation. Without being on time, all the different things, they're just one more thing to chip away on feeling bad and getting to the place of misery. So just do that. And recognize your circumstances, but don't let them dictate your behavior. how often do we do that, right? We see the circumstances. Maybe we're going through something tough, a health crisis, for example. Maybe we're going to the place of, I don't know, maybe there's something going on, like, you've got a job crisis. You've got some kind of a crisis in your life. But when we recognize what's going on, we have to take it. We don't have a choice, right? It's been handed to us. We're the ones that are sitting across from the doctor when they hand us the diagnosis. We're the ones that are dealing with a sick spouse. We have a lady here in our community, just lovely. And, her husband was just diagnosed with ALS. And her whole life has had to change because of that. And she's one of the most cheerful, lovely women you've ever met. And she walks her dog, and our dogs like each other. And, and I can tell it's rough for her. But she's not wallowing in misery. Instead, she's doing what she can with the circumstances that she has, because she's not allowing that whole thing to dictate how she is to live her life. I bet you she cries in private, even maybe in front of a few close friends, having to deal with that. But the point is that when we make a decision that we are going to live our lives with this and deal with it, and that we're going to pull up our big girl panties and get on with it, we move ourselves out of the place of misery. And for me, the thing that I look at is, it doesn't, just because we've made a decision to be miserable, not to be miserable and stuck, doesn't mean that we're going to get out of everything and it's all going to be just sweetness and light. We're still going to have challenges. We're still going to have things, but we've opted out of misery. Because misery is never going to help us, never going to be solution-oriented, never, ever, ever going to get us the life that we want to lead. This is the truth. And this is the thing that we need to look at. The last thing is that, you know what I've noticed? When you show up, you're not miserable. Because showing up is saying and making a declaration, even though it might be a miserable situation there, even though there might be something going on or whatever. But when you show up and say, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm just going to get on with it anyway. It makes all the difference. And it makes a difference in how you feel about yourself. And it's also training your brain that we do things that are hard. It's also training your brain that's fearful and saying, no, don't, and it's risky and it's too hard and it's all of that, to say, I'm going to do it anyway. And we get the reward, don't we? We get that high five from our amygdala that gives us a nice dose of serotonin and a little dopamine hit as well. Still, it's just really amazing. So this is how we fuel our confidence, and our confidence is going to dissipate the misery. We're going to start dwelling on the things that are good and right instead of the things that are out of there, And I'll tell you what happens when we start to do this? Our motivation starts to grow. Our confidence definitely starts to grow. And this whole miserable basket of stuff becomes less and less. And I know this because I've dealt with it. I've been in the place of absolutely paralytic depression. I have been in the place of just my whole life was misery. All I could think about was my miserable marriage, my miserable time and trying to figure out, finances for my little family, all of the things that were going on. Everything was miserable. But when I made a decision to shift it on what can I do, that's when everything changed. That's when everything changed. Do you know why? Because I changed my mind about what it was that I was going to dwell on. And I didn't even have this fabulous Robin Sharma quote at the time. But I just knew that keeping my eyes on that instead of my eyes on the prize of what I wanted, that was keeping me in misery. And that's stuck. That's stuck. Misery is stuck, but it doesn't have to be. And that's why I'm saying to you, it's time to step up into the life that you want to lead simply by making the declaration, making the declaration, decision, declaration, and decree that this is my life that I want to live. And that's it. Period. End of story. I'm an athlete, and I will fight for being an athlete every single day of my life for the rest of my life, because I know what it feels like to be pursuing that kind of excellence. I know you know too. And that's why I'm saying to you, it's time. It's time. So if you're ready, pinkies up, and you're ready to leave misery behind and instead make a decision for your life that's going to capture everything that you want, start building that bridge. That's the one that's going to make all the difference in the world. Misery keeps you stuck. Different decision keeps you moving. Pinkies up, lovelies. I appreciate you so much. Have a fabulous Sunday. I'll see you on Monday. Don't forget, code Q10 is going away. Buy 3, get 1 free. It's on savingdinner.com/show. And I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Love you guys. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. You can find us on YouTube on the Saving Dinner channel or on the Saving Dinner Facebook page. Check back daily for new episodes, Monday to Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you missed the live show, you can watch the replay. Until next time, pinkies up.